I'm going to start with we're not going to do the minutes this time because there were some revisions for that haven't been completed for Patty's minutes. So we'll do it. We'll do that next meeting. As an update for the budget. So I don't know how much you've been following the budget, but I think pretty much what Pam asked for, she got. They took a few things. The town administrator took a couple of things out, and I believe it looks like that the Board of Selectmen will support what's was still in there. So that means that the Selectmen were supporting at least. I don't think they've taken their final vote yet. I believe they're not going to vote until maybe the 27th, 25th. I think they meet the same night as the RTM does. But this was their indication. In the operating, they're supporting the additional maintenance position. Well, the replacement maintenance position that we lost to Public Works, I guess last year or the year before. In the capital, they're supporting the short lane construction for $500,000. And then they discussed parking, but there was nothing definitive there. Kate removed the basketball court and the Houlihan backstop. The tree replacement program is still in. The playground equipment upgrade for $15,000 is still in. The irrigation time clock module for $8,000 is still in. The sunshade at Weed Beach. They picked Weed Beach because there's an offset from what is left from, I think, the playground group. There were six, not the playground group, at least a gift that was dedicated to Weed Beach for, I think it's for $6,000, so that sunshade, well, they will only put out $9,000 for it. And then the equipment replacement program for $45,000. Okay, I think
Wait, could you just go back? I'm sorry, Adele. What did you say about the playground equipment?
Playground equipment upgrade for 15. Here, I'll give you my sheet. Don't be worried.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just give it to you. Yeah, let me finish. I've got a note to myself, which I'm sitting here reading it. That is why I was talking about. Okay, I think. Okay. The short lane construction, the $500,000 that's in the budget, in the capital budget. There will be a public hearing at the next commission meeting on the 27th for that project, for the design. So anyone that wants to talk about it can talk then. It seemed to be in the discussions of the selectmen that they were kind of interested in getting some of these projects done before they got to the big stuff with the school. So I think that's perhaps why part of why short lane is being supported, and they also, which is not in the Parks and Rec budget, but they also discussed Highland Farm, and they supported $600,000 in capital expenditure for it. So I think that includes the parking lots, the walking path, the comfort station, the landscaping, and so like I said, I think the final budget vote is on the 25th. There's Jen. Okay. So we were just reviewing the budgets. Anybody got any questions? See what the Board of Finance does with it, if they agree with the Board of Selectmen. Update on the Pear Tree Beach Improvement Project. The Pear Tree Beach Building Committee interviewed 3 firms on January 31st, and on February 6th, we voted to hire the firm of Land Tech, which is based in Westport. There were 3 groups that we interviewed on the 31st. It was Land Tech, Schmidt, and Neil Hawk. who was in conjunction with Weston and Sampson. In fact, all of them were, it wasn't just one. It was a group. There were engineers, there were engineer groups, there were architects. They were all in each of these groups. But we decided on land tech, and we felt good about them. They were within budget, and we were unanimous. Everybody agreed. So here's hoping it's going to be great. The next building committee meeting will not be till March. I think it's March 6th. Town employee contract. Anybody been following that information? No.
I read what you sent out. But
Yeah. Oh, good for you. That's good. That's good.
Is that follow?
We have one employee that's that's covered under the contract, and I stuck it in here. Anyway. There it is. Okay. All right. Well, if you read it, you'll know that I think they had trouble coming to getting this passed. I mean, they went to they were about to go to arbitration, and then they decided to try mediation, which did work for most of it. So I think it's pretty tight. The average cost increase over the duration of the contract is 3.5%. I watched the Board of Finance's discussion, and I think they had asked questions, of Kate Bush, and gotten their answers back, and they were okay with it. It seems to be in the interest of the town. Get my notes here. But town's interested in moving to a defined contribution plan. Thank you. In the end, we were okay. I appreciate your hurrying. And of course that's not really where the at least I got the impression that the employees weren't so interested in that. However, so in this contract there is a provision that allows them new hires to choose. They can choose either going by the way of the pension or what I just said of the defined contribution plan. And the kind of beauty of this part is that they're going to hire civilian dispatchers, so that all their dispatchers will be civilian dispatchers, and they'd like to be able to hire retired policemen, and this gives the policemen the ability, the incentive to do that, because they would still be able to get their pension, and then in this new job they could have a defined contribution plan. So it's a 3-year contract, and that's the long and the short of what I know about it. Okay. And so I think we will not report on that, because we just had one. There are other people that have a lot more people in the group. And Mark, can you remember anything more than what I just said?
No, that's pretty good summary.
Okay. So we'll let F&B and the others do that for us. Acceptance of the gift of $27,000, $27,753 and 81 cents. From the fireworks committee to the town, and this has been assigned to us by rules, and so we do have to report at the we have to move the question and report at the RTM. And so what this is what was left from the money that was raised last year for the fireworks. And last year, I think the selectmen decided that they would like Parks and Rec sort of to host the festivities, and so they did. And so I don't have details on how much money was raised last year. I just know that this was what was left. So I've sort of contacted Susan Marks, and she's got back. We've been playing telephone tag, so I'll get a little bit more background on the just the whole fireworks evening. before I have to make a speech on it. But last year it was, let's see, they had food trucks. They had two bands. They had the community band and another band, and then of course the fireworks. So I'm sure that Parks and Rec will do a great job taking care of it. So it will go in the Park and Rec budget, and I think F&B will explain about the numbers and how the budget's going to be a little bit different. So they're going to be able to track revenue and expenses, so that you can really see what's coming in and what's going out with the event. This is for the events that Park and Rec hosts. So that's that. So any questions? You have a motion?
I do have a question.
Okay.
Who used to run the fireworks?
Well,
Just wondering the same thing.
That's what I was
No,
gonna.
private funded it.
Yeah,
But it was
but
coordinated?
well, Susan Marks did a,
Stacy Tia.
yeah, there was a group of people.
I thought it went through the depot a long time ago.
That I don't know, but I.
So it wasn't a town department?
No, it was not a town department. It was a a group, like a committee type thing, but not a, yeah.
They did a fantastic job.
They
I just was
did,
curious. It just
and I
happened
do know that
to
Susan
me.
Marks was very involved in it, and so we'll get a little bit more of an explanation on how it worked. But I know that the selectmen after the event, thanked Park and Rec, but they also thanked police and Post
Right.
53,
Right,
and
takes
so
a
a
lot
lot
of
of people, a lot of different, there were contributions, but yes, exactly. That's the question. No, it was a volunteer group
Yeah.
that did it.
Did a nice job,
They did indeed.
It was good.
It's a heavy load, though, I would think.
I would think.
Not much.
That's why I'm curious, year
Yeah.
after year.
Yeah. There was a name listed, but it's escaping me right now. It was in the notes that I had. That's it.
Do you need a
So,
motion?
I do
Oh,
need a
I'll-
motion.
I'll
Motion to
second.
accept the gift, or to accept the gift from the fireworks committee of $27,753.81. Mark?
Second.
Sandy moves and Mark seconded.
Second.
All in favor? Thanks, that's unanimous. It's just me talking here, guys.
You're doing a great job.
We may be out here in record time.
Nothing wrong with that.
I think we're moving right on to the chairman's report. Anybody have anything else to say?
We may get a prize for the fastest.
I just have a question.
You're right.
I have a question.
Sure.
Can you tell me when the, I asked for the paddle thing is coming up again? Is there gonna,
I don't think we know.
okay.
I don't think we know. If they can reach a conclusion, I guess it'll come back, it'll come to us.
Okay,
But it hasn't yet,
okay, thank you.
that I am aware of.
So, right, yay, yes and no, or do I go yay and nay, or what do you do? Because I've never taken a tally when we did the vote, because it was unanimous. so-
I did notice that the VFW sponsors the push and pull parade. I wondered if we were doing that too, but no, so. Oh, here it is. They thanked Parks and Rec, the Norotan Heights Fire Department, the Darien Police, Post 53, Susan Marks, David Genovese, and generous sponsors. So those are the names that I garnered so far. Okay, Chairman's report, just a couple of things. One, P&Z responded to Parks and Recreation's request for the amendment to their ruling on Highland Farm. Park and Rec asked them to modify and clarify and amend the Commission's July 24th approval. In essence, P&Z basically approved the request that Parks and Rec made. And we, thanks to Susan, we saw the letter straight away, I think before the commission saw it. So, from as best I could understand from reading it, the planning and zoning left the bathroom requirements of the portable bathrooms, how many they need, when they need them, and when they don't need them. They left all that to the discretion of Parks and Recreation. They're going to allow the use of the property for programming before the parking lots are paved. They asked that gravel be put down in the interim in the parking areas. They granted them an extension until 2023 to finish the improvements that they would like to do there. You know, that was in this original ruling. And they're only requiring 30 minutes between programs with participants over 30 participants in the program. And originally, I think a special event was capped at 300 people, and now they changed the definition of a special event as any event that is not a programmed activity, and it's not limited to 300 participants. However, Parks and Rec self-imposed a limit of 92 cars, which is the amount of cars that can park in the two parking areas once they're done, to be parked on the site. So, and then I think they're allowing them to have an event that has amusement rides once a year, and there was a discussion about the number of rides, and I think they were limited to 5. I'm not positive about that.
What was the agreement on the number of special events?
That wasn't changed. They didn't ask about that. Whatever was in the original, which I'd have to look up to give you the exact number.
It was something like 10, wasn't it? Something around.
It's
More
in
than
here.
10, but I don't know.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly.
Allowing the event.
It's in the ruling, and I just gave you the July 24th.
Wow.
Does these rules apply to the Oxford Hunt Club when they use the property?
No, it says,
Oxford can only use the
for 1 week. They have
1
their own
week
specific
during the
rules,
year.
and no, I don't think that applies to
No,
them with the
that's what
parking.
Rochelle-
They can do whatever they want.
I think whatever it stipulates in this original document is what they
I
can
think
do.
so.
Is this the amusement park rides? Is that's
It's like a
new
Henley
thing?
happening
I
type
know.
of,
Is that
yes.
a new item? Did that have to be approved by anybody, or is that just something they're throwing in there and saying this can happen?
It's just, I don't know the answer to your question, truthfully.
Yeah, I'm
The only
this
reason
like
I
a
ask
Henry
is because
school
I was
or
actually
some
talking, I
new
mean,
thing
just
or-
by
yeah.
chance, I happened to be in a room with a woman who lives in that neighborhood. And she said that she and her neighbors are just increasingly concerned about this plot of land and how the number of, or the types of events and the number of cars and everything's changing, and she said it
No,
really,
actually, it hasn't.
she said it doesn't feel like the original plan of kind of open space. She said it's just, they're concerned. And then, so when you said that there could be a Hindley happening type of event there, I thought,
Once a year.
yeah, that would be
Once a
concerning.
year. Once a year.
And would that event be capped at 92 cars?
Yes.
But all the other cars, I'm assuming, would park all along the road
I
outside
don't
the
think
stone
so.
wall.
There's no parking out there.
Oh, you park out there.
Well, I think if there was, I don't think they would for this, or they would get ticketed.
But I'm surprised also that
Not gonna work
they can just make an amendment and change the original.
Well, they applied to the commission, to the Parks, Planning and
to the
Zoning
planning
Commission,
zoning.
and the Planning and Zoning Commission ruled, just like they ruled on the original.
Yeah.
And they put a bunch of stipulations on it, and so this actually amended some of those stipulations, I think, or clarified. Clarified.
Does
Well, no-
92 cars, is that a lot in your opinion?
That's the size of the parking lots that Planning and Zoning, agreed on in the original plan.
Yeah, it's just not a very big crowd, 92 cars. Is
No,
it?
it's not.
But you could put 5 people in a car.
Well, I imagine people will Uber
Or
still,
Right.
Or
drive.
Uber over.
Right.
Or walk.
Yeah.
Well, not that it matters, but I do not agree with putting an amusement park in there.
Well,
I'm just
excuse
saying.
me, could you hang on a minute?
Yeah, absolutely.
5 rides.
That's not a lot.
5 rides that
Yeah.
have to stay 300 feet away from it, from the fence where the horses are. So, before everybody gets upset.
I think the confusion lies in the fact that they talked originally about special events, and now we're hearing kind of these amusement rides, which
That's a special
really.
event.
Well, it is, but
Yeah.
I don't think people were thinking
That's a
about
special event.
amusement rides at the time with a special event.
I would agree.
I'm looking for the number of events. I don't think it's 10. I don't think
think maybe that most people were thinking like a dinner event like for Center for Hope or something like that that's outside, that's sort
Right,
of.
or like a tent, or
Yeah.
what we would do with the horse show.
Right.
I think it was more for community events, right, to invite
Yes,
the
that-
town,
yes,
not
it's-
for charity type
that's-
stuff.
Well, I think it can be charity, but
Right.
it's a community event. That was the idea, yes, indeed. I was gonna, let me,
It's a shame the original.
okay, all right, here's your
didn't
answer.
stand in harmony with the
10.
existing
I
setting.
know.
Here's your answer to the special events, and this is in the original thing, is that 10 town-sponsored special events and 5 nonprofit-sponsored special events per year. That's what's allowed. That's not necessarily what's going to happen, that's just what's allowed.
Nor do you know the scope or size of each of those.
Exactly. That's just above a program, a program, yeah. I'm just glad somebody's gonna be able to use it, because because of the parking lot, the way that it was written by P&Z, then basically no one could use it, because the parking lots weren't finished.
I'm glad it's used, I just hope that it will be in harmony with the natural setting,
Yes.
which to me does not include amusement park rides. I'm just saying.
But you
I'll
could
stop.
argue what part of town is conducive or in harmony with an amusement park? Your neighborhood or my neighborhood? or
Well,
your
there is
neighborhood?
one 2/10 of a mile from my front door at the Tokenie School, which is fine. It's been going on there forever, and they raise money on that.
Right, but
and-
probably the first
That's
day
all
they
good.
did it probably wasn't in harmony on that day, at that time. But
No,
now
but
it
it's
is.
different. It's different. The high Oxridge field is very very quiet and peaceful. Tokenique School has a lot of kids and cars going all the time, so
They're
it's not
already
a
there.
strange thing that all of a sudden there's a big commotion going on. But at Oxridge, it's a peaceful piece of property.
Usually
When they have the
Oxford
horse show,
School
it's
is
gotta
the-
Well, they
have a
gotta
lot
fight,
of
they
people
gotta,
there.
they gotta
It
fight
is,
to
that's
get it
once
back.
a year though.
They've got to
That's
fight
one
to
day.
get it
The
back from
rides
the
are only
chief's
gonna be
person.
once a year too.
Yeah.
In addition to the other 14
You
events
know,
that could
you're
possibly
right.
take place there.
It's
Was it
about
14?
1,000
There's 5.
A total of
Yeah.
15.
All
5
different types
charities
of-
and 10
I take your point.
town-sponsored.
I take your point.
Well, I guess the proof's in the pudding, we'll see. And if there's an issues, then I'm sure things will happen, but my guess is that, my take is that there won't be 10 events there. If there are 10 events, the events won't be 10 town-wide events, because we don't have the the park and rec staff, there's not very many of them, I don't think they can support very many.
So who approves the events when they come down the pipeline? Like, how does that work? Who's in charge?
Well, that would be just in the Parks and Rec department.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that, as long as it falls within the guidelines from the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Then they have to say yes, or do they still get to kind of say yes or no?
With Planning and Zoning? No,
No, the Parks and Rec, how does that work?
Oh.
If an application comes in and it fits within the criteria, do they have to say no if they have the space, or?
Do they have to say yes
Yeah.
to me?
No, I think it's generated from them, unless it's a fundraiser for a nonprofit. Then they would say yay or nay, whether they have. And then, of course, they have to talk to the Hunt Club as well, because they don't want to overburden the property with events. So I think everybody wants to be a good neighbor. And the other is the bags, the plastic
Plastic
bags.
bags.
What happened with that?
I don't know, did you guys watch or attend the public hearing? Anybody?
I did.
I watched, I didn't quite finish it, but I did watch. I did watch, and you were there, yeah. So, when, at the Rules Committee meeting, Mark will tell you that, which was the Public Works?
Public Works presented.
Public Works, I mean, the RTM committees that were assigned to the bag, plastic bag, and getting rid of plastic bags, whatever you want to say, the ordinance perhaps, have been working really, really hard, really hard. And so Monica McNally ran that public hearing, and really she came and she was talking to the rules, and because she's on rules, and just trying to get people's feedback on what would, what the ordinance, what you want in the ordinance, and what, and they have TGS&A as they've written an ordinance, but it's not complete, and so they were getting feedback on that. So it's coming, and I guess that's just what I'm saying. So it's not cooked yet, but it's coming.
What kind of feedback did they get?
Pardon?
Was it positive or?
It was about, I'd say was about 80% positive, 20% negative. She was very sensitive, Monica was very sensitive to the local businesses and their concerns in trying to write the ordinance so it doesn't hurt the local, small businesses. And so that really is the ticket. And then also staying legal with whether you can charge for bags or not charge for bags, and that sort of thing. So they're still in process. I've got a copy of it here. But anything else, Mark?
No, there was a lot of back and forth about, in that draft ordinance that you described, a lot of blanks were left, TBD, deliberately,
Yes.
to allow debate and input from the different constituents.
I think some of the people who were at that meeting the other night were a little confused because they were looking for an ordinance to speak to, and there wasn't one. So it was just basically giving your views, and I kept hearing from a couple of people sitting near me that there is no ordinance.
Yeah.
So they probably have to have another
In the
public hearing.
development stage.
I would assume they'll have another public hearing, right?
Well, right, yeah.
I would think so.
I would guess so too.
Prior to
Yeah, I
when
would
the
guess so,
ordinance
too.
comes out.
I think, let me look at my notes here, that the three RTM committees are gonna form a, one committee. Three people from each committee, Public Works, is it Planning and Zoning, or no? Public Health and Safety, yeah, and TGS&A, and see if they can hone in on just what you said, on the ordinance. And then we'll see what they do, I think. But that's the next step. The next step is that. Then I think they probably will come back to rules. Is that what you remember, Mark, in the discussion?
It
was-
wasn't stated,
kept
it
going
was
back and
implied
forth,
it was
yeah.
gonna come back.
Yeah.
So we really don't know if this woman who wanted to come and spend some time with us tonight will be able to do that prior to.
Yeah, I got a request from the the bank people. I don't know. They've got, they've got letters, but anyway. Yes, they would like to come and present to us. And I said, fine, come tonight, but they couldn't do it. And so maybe at our next meeting they will. But perhaps that would be more useful because maybe by then we'll have an ordinance.
Mhm.
And we can actually, ask questions that are reasonable. Okay. So, to be continued, I am sure. Okay. Is there anything anybody else wants to say? Oh, going back to the Pear Tree Point Building Committee, is that we picked the architect, but they have to work out the contract, so it's not a done deal yet. But that they're working on those. I meant to say that. Any other business?
I have a question. I don't know if
Sure.
it's the place to bring it up. Walking in from the parking lot, I'm uncomfortable. It's so dark. There are like 3 or 4 light things out.
That's a good point.
And I'm very kind of scared of my, the darkness and being alone out there. And
This is down to the lower lot?
no, yeah, but it's right here, right in front
And
of
even
the
in front.
the circle?
Yeah, and lower
Yeah.
lot, I don't know how many lights are out there. I just noticed up by
Yeah,
the.
it was
Huh.
really dark, I noticed that too.
And who do we bring that up to maybe fix the light bulbs?
I think
Oh, you
there's
mean
a,
the light bulbs that aren't working?
Yeah,
That were, oh,
yeah.
excuse me.
Yeah, 3 or 4 of them
Maybe the selectmen?
I think there's a request
put in for it already.
in the Public Works
I was gonna say, that
website.
sounds like Public Works.
Yeah, but there's a place to submit,
Okay.
any resident can submit a request. I
Could
think,
probably also call the selectman's office
Mhm.
and tell her
There
your
you go.
concern and she'll direct
Yeah.
you to the right.
Yeah, I'm uncomfortable walking alone in the dark,
Mhm.
and it's dark.
Particularly when there's ice out there.
Yeah.
Those
Well,
stairs
I
are
always
not
thought
good
this
either.
building was very vulnerable. I never see anyone
I
who
know.
checks who comes in and goes
I know.
out.
I know.
And
That is a very good point.
Yeah.
now that you say
I don't
that.
quite understand
No.
it in this day and age.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I
I'm
mean,
uncomfortable walking alone.
Did not think
Pass
about
that
that.
along. Anyone else? Okay, in that case, we'll adjourn.
I second that.
There you go.
Just about a half an hour. Without that question, it would have been just a half an hour.
Yeah.
very nice.